Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing good. I hope you've had a good day. And I hope you're not feeling stuck in your house. And I hope you're ready to learn. I haven't seen many postings today. And I'm trying to make these lessons as clear as possible. And I actually, in some way, think that they are better because you can listen over and over if you need to. And also, I'm explaining things a little bit more clearly. For example, now we're going to do task 1, writing. My favorite, because it really shows how much English we know and how much we can express and write academically. I find this task is much more academic than task 2. Okay. And so this task is from our book. Let's remember our book. Page 43. Yes, page 43 from our book. And it's task 1, so we're also going to be looking at from our grammar and guides book. We should follow. You see here it says task 2 writing guide, page 85 and 106. Okay. I know some of you know that really well already. Oh, task 1, sorry, 62 to 84. Right here, you see? So that's the guide that we're following. Don't forget, you can look at that guide to understand more clearly that we need 4 paragraphs. The introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and just a short conclusion. Page 63 and 64 give you some more tips on how you can connect. Very important to connect well here. Page 64 to 65, let's remember, gives us some expressions to use to describe changes. Approximation right there. And then we have some notes on grammar. We use a lot of past perfect about the past. And very important for today, to describe future dates, use passive. It says here, the amount of cars is expected to be higher by 2015. Well, that was 2015. That was in the past. I guess we should update that. Is estimated to, and then some is projected, is believed to, is predicted for the future. Because if you look at our book here, the question says, the diagram below gives information about the average hours of TV watched by children per week in the UK for a given period up to now, and estimated amounts based on the rate. Estimated amounts. And you can see here it shows 1950 to 2110. So yes, that's future. So we're going to have to write a paragraph about up from the past until now, and then one about the future. Okay, I'm jumping ahead here, but what I want to say again is that in your guide, that's what it means here. We need to use passive tense or expressions to describe future. Well, I mean, you could say it will, be higher, but will be is a little bit lower level. So in here we're using the level 6.57 or 7 or higher. Okay? Okay then, so according to our guide, remember we're following our guide. The first sentence or the first paragraph is the introduction, and our first sentence is one that should rephrase the question. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Okay. It says the line graph provides statistical information regarding the typical number of hours youngsters spent watching television per week in Britain since 1950 and estimations until 2110. Estimations, so what we did here is we rephrased the question as much as we could. Instead of the diagram below gives information, we said the line graph. The average hours of TV, we said the typical number of hours. Youngsters spend watching TV in the UK, in Britain. So the more that you can rephrase the question, the better. Okay? Now we get to our second sentence. Excuse me. An overview of the data indicates that the rate has been leveling off recently and is expected to maintain this trend into the future. Okay, so the rate has been leveling off. So I guess what it's trying to say here is you see how it's going up. Actually, you know what? Let's put here, instead of leveling off, let's put increasing, because I think that really it has been increasing. It's not very clear here. You see, here's 2000, but here's 2110. So the timeline doesn't seem to be so clear. But I think that we should be somewhere right here. So that's what I was saying. It's leveling off, but not really. In reality, from 1950 until 2000, it has increased a lot. So let's just put has been increasing recently. Well, let's change this recently as well. Let's change it to up to now. Let's put up to now. Okay? And is expected to maintain this trend into the future. Actually, let's put, instead of maintain this trend, I'm going to change this as well. And expected, now we can put level off. Okay, there we go. And is expected to level off. You see how it's going up and then it's kind of leveling off. It means it's not increasing so rapidly. A little bit like we want, here we go, the situation with the coronavirus to go. I didn't want to talk about it, but here I am again. Right now, the coronavirus cases are increasing rapidly, globally, more so than locally. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to level off. We wanted to, like what's happening in China, it's now flat, leveling off, and then maybe going down. It will happen. That's for sure. This is just so new to us, okay? Anyways, there you go. So it has been increasing up to now, right here, and is expected to level off into the future. Okay. So now what we want to do is, how are we going to write about this? It's very important. A little bit different than how we wrote a typical line graph. One paragraph about the past, one about the first year and last year. It's kind of similar, except that here we need to write about the change from 1950 until the present and then the future. Okay? So I'm going to try to write that. Okay. So first, let's start off with that. Okay. So it says, to specify from 1950 until the mid-90s. Okay. So it says right here. I wonder why. Okay, let's see. The number of hours children aged 13 to 18 spent watching TV had ballooned, okay, from approximately 2 hours, here, to a ballpark of, let's change ballpark to a peak of, because you see here's the peak. Yeah, that's the reason I mentioned this. 25 hours. Had ballooned. That's past perfect because we're talking about the period in the past from 1950 until the mid-90s, okay? So this line right here. Okay. Now, what's here? So now we need to compare it to the other age groups. Let's change interesting to meanwhile. Meanwhile means like at the same time almost. Meanwhile, let's change that trend because it's in the past. That trend had been similar. We want to put comparatives in similar here. So let's put that to green here. That trend had been similar in 7 to 12-year-olds and the youngest group. So it says they're both increasing as well right here. Except means but. They were lower. Okay, so it says these two were lower at roughly 16 for the 7 to 12-year-olds and the youngest group 10 hours respectively. So right here. Yeah. What's this one here? No, we don't want to do that because I guess we can put it like this. Yeah. Okay. So we got the first three. We got this 1950 to 1990. This the three. Now we need to say something from that point until now. Okay, because it's very important to talk about now. What's happening until now, and I think that's the next sentence. Let's see. Yes, it says interestingly up to the present. Those aged 6 and younger and the 7 to 12 group have continued to, let's put in here, moderately. Not too much, not too little. To moderately rise to approximately 15 and 20 hours consecutively. So 15 hours here, 20 hours here. Whereas, and at the same time, the older children's amount has begun to marginally decline. Oh yes, you see right here, going down a little bit to approximately 23 hours. Right? Good. So you can see in this paragraph, we talked about 1950 to, I guess I chose to write up to here because that's where this one reached the peak and everything seemed to be increasing a lot. But we also need to say something about up to the present time, which has to be around here. And that's it for this paragraph. Not so bad. Let's remember that the green is talking about comparisons here. And the orange here is just statistical notation. Okay, so now I think I explained that we need to talk about the future right here. So, let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay. Comparatively, looking ahead to 2110, remarkably, this phrase comes out, looking ahead to 2110, comes out from our guidebook, I believe. As you can see here, it has this kind of information. Where is it? Somewhere around there. Anyways, now you know. Comparatively, looking ahead to 2110, remarkably, the 6 and younger group is projected to continue to modestly increment and nearly reach the 7 to 12s figure in the neighborhood of 17. So we're talking about that point right here. So it says the 6 and younger first because it seems to, well, it's increasing. I see here a little drop. I didn't say it in the sentence, but I think I'm going to mention it in the second sentence. So, there you go. So, look at the expression for the future. Is projected to continue to increment, to modestly increment. There you go. So you see, is projected, that's a future passive, talking about the future in a passive form. Okay? So we're talking about that one there. So I should say something about this line. I mentioned this one is projected to continue incrementing. This one here seems to be going down. So I've already mentioned it, but let me see what I'm going to mention next. Right, you see here, notably the latter is anticipated, excuse me. The latter is anticipated to slightly drop to this number. So it says here the latter. In the previous sentence, we have the former 6 and younger group, the first one. The latter, which is the second group mentioned, the 7 to 12s. So it says the latter 7 to 12s is anticipated to slightly drop right there. Yeah. I don't need to mention the statistic again because I already said it right there, the neighborhood of 17. So I just connected this sentence by saying the latter. Good expression there. Okay, now I just need to mention this one. I see it falling. Okay. So it says, it is worth noting that the oldest group, 13 to 18, is predicted to remain the highest. Okay, so first of all, it's the highest, despite continuing a downward trend to roughly 22 hours per week. So it's saying it's going to be the highest or remain the highest despite, even though, or but, it's a downward trend here because it's going down. Okay? Good. And again, I would want to focus on emphasizing that this is a really good example about how to express future right there. Changes for the future. Is projected to. Is anticipated to drop. Is predicted to remain the highest. If you want to get 6, then put will. Okay? If you want to get 5, then just put present tense. Drops. But if you want to get 7 or higher, which I know is your goal, most of you, then we need to express in this way. I'm only writing level 7 here. Okay. Let's get to our summary sentence. You don't really need to write a summary sentence. I think actually that a summary sentence could make it 8 final score rather than 7. Something, it's good to, especially if you don't have time, right? It's better to just, it's okay if you finish up to here. So it says, to sum up from this line graph, we can ascertain, we can understand that the popularity of viewing television has ballooned over the last half century. So we're talking about over this period here. Yeah, has ballooned. It's a little bit, well, over the last half century, right? 50 years, half century, over that. Particularly in adolescence. Adolescence is this period, like teenage years, okay? This group is adolescents. Okay, so has ballooned. Looks like a balloon increasing here. So first part about that, has ballooned. But because we're talking about the future, we should also mention something about the future. What does it say here? However, this trend is forecasted to deflate in the upcoming century. Interesting. First of all, the verb to forecast is forecasted. You know, like the weather forecast? Well, it's a verb. To forecast means to make a prediction. To deflate means like not continue increasing. So kind of like start going down a little bit. So deflate or level off. Very good. Well, like I mentioned to you, this is my favorite writing because I think I really like all this color here. That's why I like it. Anyway, so there you go, everyone. See, it wasn't so difficult. Please analyze it carefully. And I think the homework, if I'm not mistaken, something similar. Oh, yes, look. It says the population age 65 and over from 1940 and predictions until 2040. That one's on page 45. So if you want, you can start writing that one. So how are we going to do our writing? Well, do your writing like I did here and just on Word and send a message to me. Allah has already done that. Good work, Allah. It doesn't matter if it takes you 1-2 hours. What matters is that it's good. Okay? There's your sample. The homework is very similar. And also, I didn't mention before, but task 2, the homework is on page 40. It is important for governments to apologize for the mistakes of its predecessors. To what extent do you agree or disagree? I will say predecessors means like our ancestors, the people before. A good example about, well, you know what? I'll make a short video and analyze that tomorrow. All right. And also remember, so I've already mentioned that this is the homework for this line graph. And please, I set the reading up to page 51 and also the listening up to page 20. I'll be doing an analytical video shortly to analyze the reading and the listening. Okay, everyone? Again, I hope you're all doing very good and we're staying safe out there. I will speak to you shortly. Bye for now.